Art has always been one of the driving factors in a changing culture, and how a culture changes, how people behave, think, and even feel can be directly translated into art and be derived from art that they consume. And this does not just come from typical art pieces like paintings, sculptures, and etc. It can come from media such as movies and TV shows. But in the 19th and 20th centuries, these forms of media were not around to influence people like they do today. Popular art has always been one of the main drivers towards a change in culture. Examples can be seen with many artists, but I'll be focusing on two of them, as well as a piece from each of these artists. Andy Warhol and Roy Lichtenstein, along with a few other artists, were responsible for creating the pop art movement in the 1960s, a movement of art which goal was to hold a mirror to contemporary society, ending the Modernism movement. As described by Eden Gallery, when it emerged on the scene, pop art was not a popular style, as the name might suggest. Instead, the movement takes its name from the subject matters which it inspired: film, comics, commercials, and other forms of popular culture. Cold Shoulder by Roy Lichtenstein and Campbell Soup by Andy Warhol are both pieces of pop art that are responsible for pushing it into the mainstream and pushing the movement forward. Roy Lichtenstein was born in New York City on October 27, 1923, and was known for his paintings and sculptures. In his teenage years, Lichtenstein spent his time drawing, painting, and sculpting, also spending many hours in the American Museum of Natural History and Museum of Modern Art. He served as an infantryman in World War II after graduating from Ohio State University, and many of his pop art pieces are derived from comic books and films. The piece I will be focusing on can be found at the Los Angeles Contemporary Museum of Art, currently on public view at Broad Contemporary Art Museum, Floor 3. The piece itself, inspired by DC comic style art, and is of a woman saying hello. Lichtenstein employed only a handful of colors: red, yellow, black, white, and thick, hard-edged lines to produce a relatively straightforward composition that is both dramatic and humorous, as well using Ben-Day dots, which are the areas of dotted colors that make up the picture that you can see in comic strips, and the style for which Lichtenstein is most famous for. This style came about in a way you wouldn't really expect. Lichtenstein's son, when looking at a Mickey Mouse comic strip, said, "I bet you can't paint as good as that, eh, Dad?" And the rest is history, with the piece right here, Cold Shoulder. Lichtenstein's dots are a defining part of pop art movement. And this work, in its tongue-in-cheek manner, would influence popular advertising and the comic book style, which it was inspired by. Companies such as Coca-Cola and DC would use this style of art in many of their adverts to attract attention towards their products. Andy Warhol was born Andrew Warhola on August 6, 1928, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and died February 22, 1987. During his lifetime, he was an American artist, filmmaker, and leading figure in the pop art movement of the 1960s. He was born to Lithuanian immigrants from eastern Slovakia, but lived his life in America. Andy Warhol is most known for his Campbell Soup can paintings, which can be viewed at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, at the Broad Contemporary Art Museum on the 3rd floor. The subject matter of this painting has always been broad, and many have had different interpretations of it, but when asked himself why he chose to paint Campbell Soup paintings, he replied, "I used to drink it. I used to have the same lunch every day for 20 years, which in terms of how popular this piece is, seems pretty bland. In terms of pop art, however, he chose these soup cans because they were shelved on almost every grocery store in America. They were popular, and Warhol was fascinated with consumerist culture. Therefore, he wanted to connect art with an everyday life item, for him being these soup cans. An article by The Collector explains, he displayed his single can paintings as repeat series to reflect this mass-produced nature of this item. By bringing such logos and motifs from normal life into his paintings and screen prints, Warhol also wanted to break down the boundaries between art and life, showing that normal experiences should be included on gallery walls, and that art should be accessible to everyone. He said, "I don't think art should be only for the select few. I think it should be for the mass of the American people." Andy Warhol has had different motifs of this soup can. He did this because he was interested in commercial culture, why certain brands were able to catch the attention of consumers in the early days of advertising, using art as a medium to advertise. Modern art today is used in many different forms of media. Pop art is still relevant today, even inspiring fashion, design, the entertainment industry, advertising, and popular culture. By creating paintings and other forms of art on mass culture, goods, and media stars, artists like Andy Warhol and Roy Lichtenstein have blurred the boundaries between what can be considered high art and low art, making it so there's no hierarchy when it comes to influential art, and any one of these paintings can be included in a gallery. Someone does not have to paint the Mona Lisa for their art to be seen as high value, and this is due in part to the pop art movement, which these two were exponents of.